You know how it feels when you go out to the coop with your egg basket full of hope and all you get is a lot of clicking but no egg in sight? Yeah, those mornings are rough. It's as if the chickens decided to go on holiday without informing you. If it helps, you're not alone in having eggless breakfasts. Even experienced farmers scratch their heads trying to figure out why their hens treat egg laying as a seasonal side gig. Chickens can be peculiar creatures at times. They're as moody as teenagers, and getting them to cooperate is like asking a cat to take a bath. The shorter daylight hours are a major reason why chickens stop laying eggs. You may not realize it, but chickens are similar to solar panels in that they require sunlight to produce eggs. Once winter arrives, the sun goes on vacation, and so do your eggs. They also have the inconvenient habit of molting once a year, shedding their old feathers as if they were getting new clothes for the season. It's all fun and feathers flying around, but laying eggs takes a back seat. Molting is similar to the hen version of a spa day, but it lasts a full month. And just when you think the worst is over, you discover that it's not just one hen. They've all decided to molt at the same time. Let's just say I have had a month of feather explosions and no omelets. This has been a difficult time. Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. If that weren't enough, chickens can be surprisingly picky about their surroundings. Anything can throw them off, including the neighbor's dog barking, overcrowded nesting boxes, or even a rooster that crows too loudly at dawn. I once had a very dramatic hen who refused to lay simply because the coop door squeaked. Not a joke. She fixed the hinge and resumed laying 2 days later. Her demands would make you think she was royalty. Now I've made my fair share of mistakes while trying to get my hens back on track. One year, I thought doubling up on corn in the winter would be the solution. Instead of producing more eggs, my hens became rounder and lazier. It was as if they had all decided to hibernate. Carbohydrates produce chubby chickens rather than egg layers. On the other hand, I tried giving them some extra mealworms once during molting season, and they practically dashed to the nesting boxes like they were late for work. Chickens are funny in that way. Bribe them with some protein, and they become model employees. Feeding hens appears simple. Simply toss some corn or bread and let them peck away, right? But there's a catch. Too many carbs can turn your chickens into feathered couch potatoes. Consider this. If you only ate pasta and pastries, you'd feel sluggish. The same is true for hens, except they stop laying eggs rather than skipping workouts. These carbohydrate-rich snacks provide hens with plenty of energy, but they lack the protein and nutrients required for egg production. Overindulging them with grains such as corn or leftover bread is equivalent to serving them an all-you-can-eat buffet of empty calories. And what about overweight chickens? Forget about eggs. Carrying extra weight puts stress on their bodies, making them less likely to lay down. It's like attempting to run errands after Thanksgiving dinner. You can, but would you? Hens require energy, but not the type that makes them lazy and lethargic. When I first started raising chickens, I thought I was being generous by feeding them all kinds of kitchen scraps. It felt good not wasting anything, and the hens seemed content enough. However, egg production dropped, and it took me far too long to realize they'd been overindulging in carbohydrates. The eggs returned after I reduced my intake and focused on higher protein foods. Lesson learned: chickens require the appropriate fuel, not just any fuel. The key is balance. A little corn here and there is fine, especially in the winter when the hens burn extra calories to stay warm. But it should not make up the majority of their diet. It's all about giving them what they require, not what's convenient. And chickens aren't shy about demonstrating what works. You'll know you're on the right track when the eggs start piling up again and the hens appear lively, not like feathered blobs on permanent vacation in the coop. You'd think chickens, as feathery little dinosaurs, would come with a built-in food processor. But no, they need rocks to complete the job. Amish farmers are well aware of this, and they always ensure that their hens have access to grit, tiny stones that function as nature's own blender. Because chickens lack teeth, they swallow grit, which accumulates in their gizzards and aids in the digestion of the grains, seeds, and kitchen scraps they consume. Without it, the food sits there like an uncle on Thanksgiving after 3 servings of pie. Utterly useless. Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. The better the digestion, the better the nutrient absorption, and better nutrients equal more eggs. It's similar to giving your car premium gas rather than cheap fuel. Sure, it could run either way, but the good stuff will provide a smoother ride. However, there is a trick to it. Not all grits are the same. The Amish provide insoluble grit, which sticks around in the gizzard and works with every meal. Some inexperienced chicken keepers make the mistake of using oyster shells as grit, which is a rookie mistake. Oyster shells dissolve over time and are more of a calcium supplement. Beneficial, but not the same. You wouldn't replace your morning coffee with toothpaste simply because they come in tubes, would you? I remember when I first introduced grit to my flock. At first, the hens looked at the tiny stones as if I had lost my mind. But after a few days, I noticed a difference. Their food wasn't going to waste, and they appeared more energized, as if they had discovered a secret they didn't want to share with me. And just like that, the eggs started coming in again. It was like flipping a switch, all for some pebbles that no one else thought were worth the trouble. Here's a little piece of advice. Free-range chickens frequently find their own grit in the wild, but if they're cooped up for the winter or in bad weather, they'll need you to bring it to them. This is where the Amish outperform most farmers. They pay attention to every detail, even something as mundane as gravel, because they understand that it all adds up in the end. It's funny to think about. Who knew that a handful of rocks could lead to more eggs? But the Amish understand it. They understand that good digestion means good laying, and more eggs equals fewer grumpy mornings. Nothing can ruin a day faster than running out of omelets. To be productive, chickens, like humans, require a balanced diet. The Amish understand that throwing scraps or corn at hens won't result in a basket full of eggs. These birds require adequate vitamin and protein intake. That's where natural supplements come in. No lab-created powders or chemicals, just ingredients you may already have in your pantry. Amish farmers use apple cider vinegar as a power drink for their hens. A tablespoon per gallon of water keeps the hens hydrated, improves digestion, and protects them from sneaky little illnesses that can disrupt egg production. It's like giving your hens a spa day for their stomachs. Personally, I began adding ACV to my flock's water, and let me just say that the egg count increased faster than my excitement the first time I discovered a double yolk. Garlic is another secret weapon. Before that, press the subscribe button. Thanks for doing that. A clove or two added to the feed every now and then strengthens the flock's immune system. Furthermore, it makes them smell too bad for most parasites to hang around. I expected them to turn their beaks up at the garlic at first, but they gobbled it down like they were preparing for an Italian meal. There have been no vampires in the coop so far. Herbs like oregano and thyme aren't just for Sunday roasts. They also keep hens healthy. These herbs are high in antioxidants and help to keep the flock's immune system functioning properly. Some Amish farmers swear that a few sprigs of parsley here and there helps hens lay better. I tried this herb trick on mine, and while I can't say for certain that the parsley caused them to lay, it did make them strut around like little feathered food critics. And then there's the high protein boost, which is especially important during molting season, when chickens are more focused on growing feathers than laying eggs. The Amish prefer commercial layer feed with 16% to 18% protein, but they also use natural sources such as mealworms or black soldier fly larvae. Ever see a hen eat a handful of mealworms? It's like a scene from a poultry horror film. Feathers flying, worms disappearing, and hens fighting like they've found the last piece of chocolate at a family reunion. But, hey, more protein equals more eggs, which is all that matters. With all of this nutrition talk, it's easy to see how eggs have become less of a mystery and more of a formula. Feed them well, keep them healthy, and let the hens do their part. No magic is required. When it comes to laying eggs on a consistent basis, chickens require more than just a comfortable nest and a pep talk. They require protein in abundance. The Amish have figured it out. They understand that without enough protein, hens transition from egg machines to freeloading feather balls, leaving farmers wondering if they're running a retirement home rather than a coop. Layer feed is the foundation of their diet, containing at least 16% to 18% protein, but the Amish don't simply dump feed and call it a day. They adjust it throughout the year based on the flock's needs, particularly during the molting season, when hens resemble disheveled pillows rather than productive birds. During molting, chickens shed their old feathers and devote all of their energy to growing new ones. When the Amish crank up the protein, they serve mealworms, black soldier fly larvae, or even boiled eggs. It may feel strange feeding eggs to a chicken, like handing out hamburgers at a cow convention, but believe me, it works. When I scrambled some old eggs for my flock, the hens devoured them like children attacking a candy bowl on Halloween. They were back to laying before I knew it, and I didn't have to introduce them to motivational podcasts. What's interesting is that the Amish don't use expensive protein boosters, no factory-made supplements here. They make do with what they have, which is frequently sourced from their own land. Extra greens, vegetable scraps, and leftover dairy products are added to the hen's diet. If it's good enough to prevent waste, it's also good enough to fuel eggs. Speaking of greens, I swear my hens lay prettier eggs when I feed them kale or clover. It could be science or my imagination, but having prettier eggs feels good. Another important factor to consider is variety. Chickens, like humans, get bored eating the same food every day. The Amish occasionally add black oil sunflower seeds, which are high in fat and protein, an egg-laying superfood. According to one Amish farmer, chickens, like humans, require some variety in their diet. To be honest, after seeing my hens go crazy for sunflower seeds, I believe they may be onto something. Of course, too much of anything can backfire, and the Amish understand that balance is essential. Overfeeding protein, especially rich treats, can make hens too heavy, which isn't ideal for laying. It's a delicate dance, just enough to keep the eggs flowing without turning the hens into chubby little divas. I once went overboard with mealworms, and my hens began to look more plump than productive. Lesson learned: moderation is essential even with bugs. This constant balancing act, monitoring diet, adjusting for molting, and rotating treats, is what keeps the eggs coming all year. It's more than just shoveling feed and hoping for the best. It's about paying attention to what the hens require at any given time. When you get it right, the eggs come pouring in, even in the dead of winter. When it comes to snacks, Amish farmers know how to hit the sweet spot without causing their hens to overeat. They treat their chickens in the same way that a grandmother sneaks a cookie to a grandchild, just enough to keep them happy but not enough to ruin dinner. Greens are at the top of the treat list, with kale, spinach, and lettuce thrown like confetti into the yard. So why not? They're high in nutrients, which keeps the hens healthy and encourages them to lay more eggs. One farmer once told me, "If you want eggs, feed them greens like it's a garden party." This method works. Happy hens, healthy eggs, and fewer trips to the feed store. But the real trick is knowing when to add a little fruit. Apples and berries appear as dessert at a Sunday potluck. In moderation, they are refreshing and hydrating treats, particularly in the summer. Just don't go overboard. I learned this the hard way after a watermelon frenzy in July. My hens were too preoccupied pecking through the juicy mess to bother with their nesting boxes for the day. Lesson learned. Even chickens know how to relax after a delicious dessert. Who is the surprise star of the treat lineup? Pumpkin. Not only do the birds enjoy it, but it also serves as a natural dewormer. The Amish farmers swear by it. Every fall, they crack open pumpkins and let the hens eat them, keeping the flock healthy as winter approaches. You'd think the hens were at an autumn festival, and I have to admit that watching a flock of chickens dive into a pumpkin is both amusing and strangely satisfying. Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. Of course, none of these treats can replace a well-balanced meal. Amish farmers use snacks sparingly, primarily to increase egg production rather than to replace essential nutrients. This balance ensures that the hens are never too full to eat their regular meals. If you've ever given a child candy before dinner, you know how the story ends. And believe me, it is no different with chickens. A hen addicted to treats may begin to look at her feed bowl in the same way that a toddler looks at broccoli. but when the treats are right, the results are visible in the nest box. More eggs, healthier eggs, and hens who appear smug. Who wouldn't feel proud after eating gourmet greens and seasonal fruit? And just like that, with a few wise decisions, those hens are back in business, laying eggs like it's their full-time job. Not every hen was born to be a rock star, and even the Amish recognize when it's time to let their feathered ladies go. A productive hen will typically lay for 2 or 3 years before, well, some of them start eyeing the porch swing. The Amish have no interest in running a poultry retirement home, but they also believe in avoiding waste. Every hen, young or old, serves a purpose when egg production slows. It isn't personal, it's biological. Hens naturally produce fewer eggs as they age, sometimes dropping from 5 eggs per week to just 1. Amish farmers keep track of this by rotating their flocks methodically. It's similar to knowing when your old car's check engine light indicates it's time to stop spending money on repairs. Instead of worrying about squeezing out the last few eggs, they introduce new hens and keep things running smoothly. Older hens, however, are not simply discarded. They are frequently used as stew meat. And believe me, there is nothing quite like a broth made from a bird that has lived a good long farm life. I remember when Mildred, one of my own hens, stopped laying eggs and instead spent her days strutting around the yard like royalty. She wasn't doing her share, but after being turned into soup, let's just say she gave back in the most delicious way. That broth was as delicious as a warm hug from a country kitchen. It is not a heartless process. It is based on practicality. The Amish strike a balance between respect for animals and efficiency. No pampered hen spa days, just honest farm life. Honestly, even hens seem to know when it's time to retire. They have a certain look on their faces, as if they've had enough of laying eggs every morning and are ready for a simpler life. I can't blame them. If I laid eggs for 2 years in a row, I'd want a break as well. However, letting a hen retire is more than just making soup. It is part of maintaining the flock's health and productivity throughout the year. Old hens can develop health problems, which may stress the younger ones, and stressed hens lay fewer eggs, leaving you staring at an empty egg basket. The Amish keep things practical by gradually introducing new hens, allowing them to take over egg production while the older gals enjoy their golden years, or, well, days. It's a simple but effective strategy. Introduce new hens while removing older ones. There is no drama or guilt, and the rotation ensures that everything runs smoothly. There is always a young hen ready to step up to the plate, or in this case, the nest. After all, chickens and humans are very similar. Everyone has a job to do, but no one can work indefinitely. Let's be honest, chickens are pickier than they appear. You'd think they'd lay eggs anywhere, but hens have standards. And a dirty coop? That is a no-go. Amish farmers understand this better than anyone. They treat the chicken coop like a Ritz-Carlton, scooping droppings and refreshing bedding on a regular basis. It's not just about appearances. Keeping things clean prevents illness. A sick and uncomfortable hen will not lay eggs anytime soon. She is boycotting the nest. Here's a little-known fact. If the nesting area is dirty, hens may stop laying altogether. I once left my coop unattended for several weeks, a huge mistake. The hens gave me looks as if I had checked them into a rundown motel, but after a thorough cleaning and a new batch of pine shavings, they were back at it, laying eggs as if I had just earned a 5-star Yelp review. Chickens, it appears, are similar to house guests. If you want them to stay, you must keep your home clean. The Amish also replace bedding precisely, rather than waiting for it to become soiled. They understand that parasites and bacteria thrive in damp conditions, which can affect both the hen's health and mood. When one bird becomes ill, it's as if a domino effect occurs. Feathered friends all over the place begin to exhibit symptoms. Keep the coop clean, and you eliminate that risk at the knees. It takes a little more effort, but in the end, more eggs are worth every scoop of bedding. Funny how chickens remind me of grandmothers. If the kitchen isn't clean, you'll hear about it. One day, my grandmother saw the state of my chicken coop and gave me the same look she saves for sticky countertops. After I cleaned it up, she said, "Now they'll start earning their keep." And she was correct. The hens begin laying as if there was no tomorrow. Moral of the story: When in doubt, channel your inner grandmother. When winter arrives, Amish farmers prepare with their secret weapons: warm bedding and insulated coops. It's not just about keeping the chickens comfortable. It's also about egg production. Just as we reach for a steaming bowl of soup when the temperature drops, hens require extra attention to keep their energy levels up during the colder months. Those feathered friends burn more calories just to stay warm, which can reduce egg production if they aren't properly fed. To combat this, Amish farmers prepare a hearty diet high in protein and fat. Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. They understand that feeding their hens more nutrient-dense foods, such as high-fat grains or even kitchen scraps, can help them lay more eggs. When hens receive the proper fuel, they are more likely to lay consistently. I mean, if I had a snack for every time it snowed, I'd be an expert at egg production if I were a chicken. But wait, there's more. You may be surprised to learn that chickens appreciate a little extra light during the winter. Some Amish farmers use natural light by strategically positioning their coops for maximum sun exposure, while others use light bulbs that mimic daylight. This tricks the hens into thinking it's still summer, encouraging them to continue laying those valuable eggs. It's like treating them to a tropical vacation. With all of this pampering, one might assume that a chicken's life is all sunshine and rainbows, but they, like humans, can face challenges even in the best of circumstances. Consider a freezing cold morning when the hens would rather stay warm in their cozy bedding than venture outside. That's where Amish wisdom shines through. They keep their coops clean and clutter-free. A clean environment not only makes the hens happy, but also keeps them healthy. A clean coop reduces illness, allowing the hens to concentrate their efforts on what matters most: laying eggs. Let's be honest. Warm beds and cozy coops won't help if the hens are still stressed out. So, when the weather is perfect and the environment is ideal, it is critical to ensure that these feathered ladies are at ease and content. After all, happy hens produce more eggs. The annual molting season, when hens decide it's time for a change and stop laying eggs. Every year, like clockwork, chickens shed their feathers to make room for new ones. While this sounds like a beauty regimen, there is a catch: no eggs until the feather show is over. Now, the Amish have a method of dealing with this seasonal feather frenzy that not only keeps their chickens calm, but also ensures a consistent egg supply throughout the year. They accept molting as a normal part of the chicken's life cycle, but that doesn't mean they sit around waiting for eggs to reappear. Instead, they increase the protein in their hens' diets at this time. Consider it a chicken power-up. The extra protein speeds up the molting process. They receive special treats such as mealworms and black soldier larvae. How about a gourmet chicken diet? It's similar to giving your child extra dessert before dinner to speed things up, but this time it's fluff and feathers. I will never forget my first molting experience. I had a flock that decided to molt all at once, and it looked like a pillow fight broke out in the coop. Feathers were everywhere. My children thought it was hilarious, but I was disappointed to discover that my egg basket was now as empty as a politician's promise. That month served as a stark reminder of the importance of timing when managing a flock. The Amish take things a step further. They stagger the molting process rather than allowing all of their hens to do so at once. This clever method ensures that while some hens are busy regrowing their feathers, others continue to lay eggs. It's similar to running a relay race, in which the next runner is always ready to go as soon as the previous one passes the baton. This way, egg production is consistent throughout the year, ensuring that the family has plenty of fresh eggs to enjoy. Molting can be compared to a spa day for hens. They get to shed their old, ragged feathers and emerge looking new and fabulous. Unlike most spa days, this one includes a temporary egg drought. So, while the chickens show off their new feathers, you'll just have to remind yourself that good things come to those who wait. Imagine if hens had Instagram, they'd be sharing before and after photos all winter. When it comes to keeping chickens productive, stress management is as important as proper feeding. Consider this. Would you want to face a challenging day at work if your boss was yelling in your ear? The same applies to hens. If they are stressed, egg production can drop faster than a dropped egg. Amish farmers understand this, which is why they create a peaceful environment in their coop. They understand that reducing noise and overcrowding has a significant impact. Consider the relief of being able to lay an egg without anyone squawking in your ear or bumping into you. Fighting over prime real estate is eliminated when cozy nesting boxes are provided for each hen. It's like giving them their own small apartments. I discovered this lesson firsthand when I expanded my chicken coop. My hens had been cramped and nervous, but once they had more room, it was as if they discovered a hidden talent for egg laying. Within days, the output skyrocketed. It turns out that chickens value their space just as much as anyone who has had to share a bathroom with siblings. And if you're still skeptical about the importance of happiness in hens, consider this. Happy chickens can lay up to 30% more eggs than stressed chickens. Talk about motivation. While having a peaceful co-op is great, keep in mind that chickens must be properly fed in order to remain productive. A well-balanced diet, combined with a happy environment, is essential for keeping those egg-laying gears turning. Amish farmers pay close attention to this as well, ensuring that their hens receive adequate nutrients for energy and egg production. It's a combination of caring and understanding their flock's needs. With happy hens, the next step is to provide them with the necessary fuel. What's the secret to a consistent supply of eggs? That is correct, a diet high in protein and essential nutrients. As we proceed, we'll get into the specifics of what goes into the hens' diets. After all, a hen cannot lay eggs on an empty stomach, just as I am unable to function without my morning coffee. Amish farmers understand that keeping chickens productive requires thoughtful, consistent care. They keep their hens happy and healthy all year by focusing on creating a peaceful environment, managing stress, and providing a balanced diet. With these methods, it's no surprise they can lay eggs even in the coldest months. If my hens can lay all winter without electricity or fancy supplements, I must be doing something right. Perhaps the Amish really do know the secrets to life and eggs. So let us raise our hats to these hard-working farmers and their clucking companions. Here's to an abundant egg supply, the traditional Amish way. We've explored some amazing methods that honor nature's bounty in the healthiest ways possible. Whether you enjoyed this look into the Amish way of life, don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing culinary facts, and let me know in the comments whether you've ever tried preserving eggs or plan to do so after this. Click on the video that's popping up right here on your screen to see how you can preserve eggs that last 15+ years. See you in the next video where we'll uncover more secrets of the Amish way of life. Happy preserving!